who is Rob Swift? Who are you, man?
Oh, man. I'm the son of Colombian immigrants. My dad immigrated to New York City in 1969, got himself established, worked at a factory for a couple of years, sent for my mom and my older brother in 1971. And
he was out here grinding.
Yeah, grinding, like old school style.
Yeah.
They had me in New York City in 1972. So when I get asked, who are you? The first thing that comes to mind is just my parents, my heritage as a Colombian, and the idea that I'm also the firstborn American in my entire family.
Wow.
So having that on my shoulders is sort of like, I don't want to say I feel pressure, but there's an honor that comes with that, and I feel a responsibility to do right by my family name.
You made it, bro.
Yeah, right. You know what I'm saying?
You did it.
That's how I feel, bro. For real. Yeah.
So, Rob, what are you hearing musically from your earliest memory?
A lot of salsa,
Okay.
merengue, cumbia. These are the styles of music that were popular in Colombia. And my dad was a DJ.
Okay.
Wow.
I referenced earlier that my dad had a factory job.
What's his name, man?
Jose Aguilar.
All right, I want to know. Yeah,
Jose
Aguilar.
Marcelino Aguilar is his name. And he worked at a factory, and back then, minimum wage, bro, was like $4.50 an hour.
Yeah.
So we lived in a one-bedroom apartment in a tenement building in Jackson Heights, Queens. And I'm not saying this for shock value or anything like that, but I remember having like mice and roaches for roommates, you know?
I'm
Yeah,
one
exactly.
Of those guys.
One bedroom apartment, and my brother and I used to sleep on cots in the living room. And my parents obviously slept in their bedroom. And I remember in the mornings when we'd wake up right before going to school, we'd fold the cots up and then push them into a corner so that they're not in the way when we had guests come over or whatever the case. And we'd go off to school, you know, do our thing at school, come back home maybe, let's say, around 4:30, 5 o'clock. My dad would get home like around 5:30, 6, eat dinner. My mom, you know, I love her, man. She used to like come home from work. They actually worked at the same factory. She would come home from work and cook dinner.
We got to give Mom a shout out. What's her name, too?
Clara Ruth Aguilar.
Clara Aguilar.
Yep. And I say all that to say, when we would finish dinner, the way my dad would unwind would be by playing music. So he would play a lot of the music that he grew up listening to in Colombia, the salsa, the merengue, the cumbia. So my early memories of music are sitting in the living room watching Starsky and Hutch while my dad played music.
Are you bilingual too?
I'm bilingual too. My Spanish, you know, I would say it's at about 85, 90%.
Okay.
But English is my first language because I was born here and I was around English-speaking kids. The cool thing with that is my parents were smart. They knew that if they didn't surround me around Spanish-speaking kids, that I'd lose that part of my heritage, right? So they would put me in bilingual classes in school, although I didn't need it because I spoke perfect English. They would put me in classes that were bilingual so that I was around other Spanish-speaking kids. So I feel that had a huge impact on me, you know, retaining the language.
So you're at home here too in Arizona then with the large cumbia and
no doubt, for sure.
What does it look like on the ground in New York where you are from a, you know, demographic perspective? What do you see? I love
that question. To this day, Jackson Heights, Queens is arguably the most diverse part of the world. There are, within a 3-block range, you could eat Afghan food, Colombian food, Chinese food, Brazilian food. There's every aspect of culture and ethnicity and race in Jackson Heights, and that's why I still live there, because it's so diverse. And I've traveled the world, bro. Like, I've gone to Lebanon, Russia, all over Europe, all over Asia, Australia, Canada. I've traveled from the east coast of America to the west, the north, the south. There is no place as diverse as Jackson Heights, Queens.
Wow.
And so for me as a kid, that was huge, because I learned about tolerance in real life situations, interactions with kids that were Jewish. Like, I remember during Hanukkah, there was this kid on our block named Stefan that lived across the street from me in another tenement building. And he would bring myself and our other friends over to his house during Hanukkah, and we would eat matzah.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And that's how like I got introduced to a lot of the Jewish culture. Then I had an Italian family that lived on the same floor that I did, on the 6th floor, 3752 89th Street. And my brother and I were cool with the children of the parents who lived there. And another 1-bedroom apartment, poor, you know, and they'd invite us over and we'd eat like spaghetti. You know what I'm saying? I had friends that were from Honduras on the 3rd floor. One of my best friends, James, who passed away, unfortunately, a few years ago, lived on the other side of the building, and he was Ecuadorian. I was around all these different cultures on 89th Street, 3752 is the building that I lived, but on that block, there were also houses. And I remember adjacent to the building that we lived in, there was a Chinese family. So I grew up around a variety of ethnicities, cultures, and as a kid, I was fortunate enough to learn about different people, their customs, the way they view life, the way they interacted with this country, and that stayed with me. And I think that has a lot to do, I know actually, that has a lot to do with why I am the way I am now about hip hop and being inclusive and not,
that explains a lot.
Yeah, not alienating people, which is what's happening now, I feel, post-pandemic lockdown.
In addition to just how people live, you're getting different sounds.
Oh, 100%. That too.
From you know, you're getting like world music literally
100%.
at your door.
100%. So in that same building that Stefan lived, the Jewish kid that introduced me to matzah, there was a Puerto Rican family. And I remember as a kid, the first girlfriend that I had was Puerto Rican. And she lived in that same building. And I would go over to her house to hang out, and her mom would be playing salsa. Salsa's huge in Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
And so,
Hector
like
Lavoe is like a Puerto Rican
Hector
hero.
Lavoe, right,
The
exactly.
Salsa.
Roberto Roena, another Puerto Rican legend.
Willie Colon.
Willie Colon, right, exactly. So it's just interesting thinking back to my childhood and how lucky and fortunate I was to be in an environment that wasn't just one single race, you know? And I feel that that is the beauty of New York City in the 1970s. And without that dynamic, you would not have hip hop today. It's not about a race. It's about creativity, and it's about bringing different points of view with regards to culture, and within that culture, dance, song, expression into your experience, and then sharing that with other people, and then letting that sort of coagulate and multiply and grow, you know? So people might see me and think that's a black kid and not realize that my parents are Colombian, you know? So then it's like, is hip hop really a monolith that belongs to one race, i.e. the black race? Or is it an amalgamation of different cultures?